I managed to get a one-on-one interview with the Prime Minister today, and it was very interesting. We sat down at one of the microbreweries that has sprung up in Vancouver, the Red Truck Beer Company, and Prime Minister Harper told me he's been following the emergence of all these microbreweries in the city of Vancouver. He's very impressed with the success of this business model. He's not impressed, though, with some of the other stores that have sprung up around Vancouver, notably all those medical marijuana stores. We got about 100 of them in the city of Vancouver. Prime Minister Harper says he's seen those medical marijuana stores. He's not impressed with them. Here's what he said to me about all the pot shops in Vancouver.
We don't want marijuana to become that widespread because it will have all the bad effects of tobacco and more. But look, I do think the question's interesting because it does speak to the priorities of the Liberal Party. I mean, this has been Mr. Trudeau's #1 priority. Our #1 priority is the economy. We're living in a unstable, fragile global economy. Canada has, we all know, done reasonably well in that world compared to others, but our priority for the next 4 years is to make sure we continue to grow this economy, continue to grow jobs, we continue to deliver benefits for people. We're running on some specific things here that we know we can afford, and I think this is the big choice in the election.
Another key issue that I talked to Prime Minister Harper about today was home ownership in the city of Vancouver. He says that Canada should be very proud of home ownership rates under the last 10 years of Conservative rule, but he says that that is threatened in Metro Vancouver by the possibility that offshore buyers, that foreign home buyers could be artificially driving up home prices here in Metro Vancouver and putting the price of a new home out of the reach of average middle-class citizens here in the city. So we talked about that in the interview today, and pay close attention to what he says here, because one of the things I pointed out to him was if you bring in a speculation tax or maybe restrictions on foreign ownership, it could artificially depress the prices of homes, and maybe that's not fair to existing homeowners. He had something interesting to say about that. Here it is.
We obviously don't want to crash the value, do something that would crash the value of home prices. At the same time, we want to make sure that for Canadians, for hardworking middle-class Canadian families, home ownership is affordable and accessible.
Another really hot issue in this campaign the last few days has been the issue of the niqab and whether women should be allowed to wear that Muslim face veil while they take the oath of citizenship in Canada. You know, it's a very hot, divisive issue in this campaign. I talked to Prime Minister Stephen Harper about that, pointing out that there are demands for a public inquiry into missing and murdered Aboriginal women here in BC. Why not stress that as a women's issue here in our province instead of the niqab, which applies to such a small minority of people in our country? Here's what he said.
Our position on the fact that in a public ceremony, public citizenship ceremony, when someone's joining the Canadian family, they should reveal their identity. That's been our position for some years. I continue to be surprised that the other parties are making such a big deal of an issue where they're just clearly offside of Canadian values of openness and equality. On missing and murdered Aboriginal, our position has been very clear. We are pursuing an action plan. You know, we're making investments into preventative measures like shelters, like protection services, like giving women right on reserve, matrimonial property rights and other rights on reserves they haven't had, making investments into police services so they can investigate, although the RCMP and others will tell you the rate of solving these cases is just as high as any other case. And also ultimately, of course, cracking down on crime, making sure that violent crime, not just murder, but violent crime generally, is treated with appropriate prison sentences. So these are the actions we're taking. We're open to taking any actions. There have been 40-some studies. Our position is we've gone way past the time of studying these issues. We actually have to take action to protect women.
One thing I noticed in talking to Prime Minister Harper today, he's a very skilled politician. It's difficult to get him out of his message box. No matter what question you ask him, all skilled politicians are good at doing that, but I tried to pin him down on a few hot topics here for province readers. But I'll tell you one thing that I find interesting is that Harper is campaigning very hard here. The polls are very close, and that every vote counts in this election, including right here in British Columbia, and it's very evident he's trying to get as many of those as he can. Hope you enjoyed this insight into Stephen Harper's campaign today. Thanks a lot.